Welcome everyone to Defender for Cloud in the Field. As I said on the previous episode, we have a lot of follow-up episodes lined up, post-Ignite announcements, and today is just another one of those. But before we dive into today's topic, make sure to follow the AKA link below to subscribe to our channel, actually to our playlist under the Microsoft Security channel. So make sure to click on that, hit the bell to get notifications when new videos are uploaded. With that, the topic for today is really a follow-up from Ignite, but also a follow-up from a previous episode. In the past, when we released Defender for APIs in public preview, we had an episode with Pritan that explains more about Defender for APIs overall and what API security really means. So if you have not watched that episode, make sure to go back and watch to give you a good foundation. And today is a follow-up on that, is more about what's news on Defender for APIs. And to talk with us today about that, I have one of the PMs from Defender for APIs teams, Haris Sohail. Haris, thank you very much for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Yuri.
Awesome. So I want to start just to set the context with a quick recap, which will be a good refresh as well for the audience, for you to tell us about the Defender for APIs release.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. So as you mentioned, we released Defender for APIs in public preview this past April, actually at the RSA Security Conference. And the main goal with that release is, hey, we have an integration in place with Azure API management. So the goal of Defender for APIs in that case is to help enable security for APIs published within Azure API management. And one of the main kind of focuses for that is our enterprise customers have started to rapidly adopt Azure API management to help manage their most important APIs in kind of a consistent fashion. So this includes using API management to enable authentication on their APIs and enable a basic set of security controls as well. So then the idea with Defender for APIs is, hey, we can now provide an aggregated view of all of your APIs across all of your API management services into one single view within Defender for Cloud. Bring new security insights for your APIs as well. So this includes identifying any dormant APIs, any unauthenticated APIs, any unused APIs, as well as a breadth of new security detections as well that help address some of the top OWASP API related risks. So this can include detections for broken object level authorization or lack of rate limiting or resource exhaustion or many others as well. Yeah, as you mentioned, I would highly encourage anyone that's interested in learning more about the public preview release or just an intro to the space of API security to watch Pritam's demo that was recorded earlier on this channel as well.
Awesome. As you all know, we just had Ignite, and we had many announcements. And one of the announcements that we had at Ignite was Defender for APIs GA. So we now enter this GA phase, and I'd like you to give us some updates about this GA release and what really customers should be most excited about it.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of new exciting updates that were released as part of the GA for Defender for Cloud, and specifically for the GA for Defender for APIs that was announced at Ignite as well. So a lot of new excitement, a lot of new kind of exciting announcements, but I'll be primarily focusing on just three of the new announcements, starting with number one, which is a new integration with Microsoft Purview for Defender for APIs. And essentially what this enables is, hey, customers can now have a common data taxonomy across their organization. So from their security teams all the way to their governance teams when it comes to defining any sensitive data. So defining any sensitivity labels, any custom data classifications. Those will be defined in Microsoft Purview and then honored throughout Defender for Cloud. So we already had this in place for storage and SQL, but now this integration expands to data in transit as well with Defender for APIs. So that's the first new kind of big announcement. The second big announcement is really a deeper integration with our Defender for Cloud Security Posture Management. Essentially, we have new insights that populate within the Cloud Security Explorer in Defender for Cloud, as well as the attack path analysis blades as well. And I'll show more info on that here in the upcoming demo as well. And then the last big announcement that we have is really a new API security testing partnership that we announced in public preview with a company called 42 Crunch. So most of what Defender for APIs has been focused on so far has been more runtime security capabilities. But now with this new public preview, customers now have the option to gain security for APIs in earlier stages of the development lifecycle. So now you can test and harden APIs in your DevOps pipeline, and you'll get visibility of those results within Defender for Cloud as well.
Awesome. So this integration with Purview, can you talk more about the discovery of this sensitive data and the data security in particular, and why it's so important?
Yeah, definitely. Great question there. So specifically for APIs, when it comes to kind of sensitive data discovery, it's very important for APIs in particular. So if you look at a cloud application, it'll be composed of multiple resources. You might have multiple virtual machines, multiple storage accounts, multiple gateways for that cloud application. But at the end of the day, it's the APIs that will be responsible for all sorts of data exchange. And typically, and by nature, APIs do expose some sort of sensitive or PII data as well, which is why it's very critical to secure your APIs, as insecure or kind of vulnerable APIs can lead to data exposure and sensitive data exposure at that as well. In fact, most of the API-related attacks that we've come across when doing our research for building up Defender for APIs did seem to result in some sort of data breach or data exfiltration as well. So that's really why it's so important to have really strong security, visibility, and control for both your APIs, along with the data that they exchange as well.
All right, that's really good. That's good. Let's take a look, because there are so many things that you are talking about when it comes to announcement that will be interesting to switch to the demo and take a look on this Purview integration.
Awesome. Let's get started then. So we'll start here just in the Microsoft Purview compliance tab here. So I'll just briefly just touch on this. This is where customers can really go to enable kind of the governance across their entire organization. So this is not really just limited to Defender for Cloud, but this is where I can go and define sensitivity labels across my organization. So for email messages, for documents, for sites, for files, here's where you can go to kind of configure all of that. And in this case, we have a new sensitivity label here that we've created called Ninja FTE in this case. So this is a sensitivity label that we've created specifically for our top secret APIs in this case. So we'll be using this label, and we'll be showing how this label will also appear within Defender for Cloud when we scan for sensitive data within Defender for APIs as well. So next, let's switch over to Postman to actually go and see this in action. So in this case, we have an API that's already been onboarded to Defender for APIs. In this case, you can see here it's a put method, the /echo/resource. And next we'll be showcasing how this shows up within Defender for Cloud as well. In this case, this API takes in a parameter employee ID, and you pass in the employee ID number here. And after I hit send, you'll see that it comes back with employee ID details, basically. So in this case, you can see, hey, this comes back with the credit card number associated with that employee ID, the social security number for that employee ID, EU passport number, as well as a US passport number as well. So in this case, this API does transfer or carry sensitive data within its response body. And in the case of Defender for APIs, what we'll do is we'll scan all API requests and response bodies and see how they transfer any sensitive data, and we'll replicate and kind of show that within Defender for Cloud as well. So next, let's go back to the portal here, and we'll go to Defender for Cloud. So we'll start with just going into this workload protections tab that we have here. And here we'll select the API security button. And here this will take us to see an inventory of all of the APIs that we've already onboarded onto Defender for APIs. In this case, you can see there is one API collection here that has that sensitivity label Ninja FTE. So let's go ahead and select into this one. And in this case, you can see, hey, we have this API endpoint that we just called, that /resource on the put method, has that Ninja FTE label. And we can see that it's transferring, in this case, a US Social Security number in this case. So we can see how that same API endpoint was replicated here within Defender for Cloud, and how it's carrying that same sensitive information type in this case as well. In the case of API management, like when we get this traffic, even if it's encrypted with SSL, we will still be able to get the raw API request response bodies in this case. But the idea is it's very important for customers as well, as when your clients receive these API calls, they will get the actual raw API request and response body data. So it's very important to have that visibility from a central security team to understand, hey, which APIs are actually exposing any sensitive data. So next, I'll talk about the attack path analysis and Cloud Security Explorer. So these are now our deep integrations with the Defender for Cloud Security Posture Management. So let's go ahead and select into this blade here. So as we mentioned, Defender for APIs now integrates with both the attack path analysis and the Cloud Security Explorer, and these are part of that Defender for Cloud Security Posture Management. And just to provide some context here, one of the main kind of pain points that we run into internally at Microsoft, as well as what we've heard from our customers as well, is, hey, you receive thousands of recommendations and thousands of security insights. Really, how do we make sense of that? And how do we prioritize the most important parts from a cloud application perspective? So that's really the idea here with attack path analysis and Cloud Security Explorer. It's, hey, can we help with that risk prioritization across your cloud applications? And with this new GA launch, we actually have a brand new attack path specific for APIs that's available within this attack path analysis blade. So let's go ahead and click into this. So yeah, there's a lot going on here just within this title itself, as we can see here, internet exposed APIs that are unauthenticated, carrying sensitive data. So let's break this down kind of step by step. So for this first insight, for example, internet exposed APIs, this might not be too interesting on its own. It could be the legitimate business logic for this API to be internet exposed, for example. However, the fact that it's also carrying sensitive data and the fact that it's unauthenticated now makes it a very high risk within your organization. And as you can see, we mentioned, hey, it carries sensitive data. So I can actually go into this API endpoint here and actually see specifically what sensitive information was found back for that particular API in this case. So that's the attack path analysis part of this. Next, let's go into the Cloud Security Explorer. So as we mentioned, we also now populate the API security related insights into the Cloud Security Explorer. And the idea here is, hey, customers know their applications best. So you would want to query for what's most important for you. And now that can be enabled here within the Cloud Security Explorer for APIs as well. So as I mentioned, all of those insights are now available within the Cloud Security Explorer. And we actually have 2 template queries to help kind of kick this off for customers as well. So you can see here, let's get started with this one, Internet Exposed API Endpoints with Sensitive Data. I'll go ahead and select this query here. And what this will do is create a template query that customers can use to start looking at the different API security related insights within the Cloud Security Explorer. So in this case, what I'm querying for is, hey, we have API endpoints, only show me the ones that are exposed to the internet and as well as contain sensitive data. So let's go ahead and search on this query. And this will now come back with all of the API endpoints that we have onboarded to Defender for APIs that meet this particular criteria here. I can similarly click on these insights as well to see specifically, hey, we said it's carrying sensitive data on this API endpoint. Show me specifically what sensitive data was found. So for example, in this case, hey, we saw a US Social Security number for this particular API endpoint. In that same sense, these queries are also highly customizable. So I can go, for example, and say, hey, only show me API endpoints that also have a recommendation. For example, in this case, let's add a recommendation where the title is equal to that they should only be using encrypted protocols, for example. Let's go ahead and hit search here. And this will now come back with, hey, all of the API endpoints that both are exposed to the internet, contain sensitive data, and also are susceptible to this recommendation here as well.
Well, this is great because the power of the Cloud Security Explorer is really amazing for many other things. And I'm glad that API data is now feeding to this whole package and you can do those custom search. Now, with GA, it came also the pricing, and a lot of people are wondering how much this is going to cost.
Yeah, definitely. I can talk more to that here as well. So the idea is we launched our pricing model and pricing information at this GA launch as well. And the idea with Defender for APIs is we want to offer flexibility for customers to choose which tier of pricing is most suitable for them. So essentially the pricing model is composed of 5 different entitlement plans based off API usage. So you can go with a lower tier entitlement plan if you have an API management service with lower usage, all the way up to a very high usage API entitlement plan for higher usage tiers as well. And if you're interested in learning more about the usage tiers, as well as seeing the actual pricing information as well, you can navigate over to the Defender for Cloud portal and see all this information within the Defender plans page as well.
Amazing. I like this flexibility because it's definitely not one size fits all. Thank you very much for all the demos. There is anything else that you want to add on top of this? Any final consideration?
No, I think that pretty much covers all of the new announcements for the Defender for APIs GA. We do have one additional kind of announcement that we touched on earlier, which is our new partnership with API security testing vendor 42Crunch as well. So next in the demo, I can kind of showcase more details on that as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome, sounds good. So let's go navigate now to GitHub in this case. So as I mentioned, with this new integration that we have now available in public preview, the idea is customers can now also get shift-left API security testing coverage with Defender for Cloud as well by using 42Crunch's API security testing scans. So the idea here for customers is, hey, if you want to test and harden your APIs within your DevOps pipelines, you can go and enable 42Crunch's various scans, and we will then populate those insights both within GitHub Advanced Security, and you can also see those insights within Defender for Cloud, so your security teams can have that centralized visibility and enact governance on those results as well. So let's go ahead and see this in action. So here I am in GitHub. In this case, we'll go and select into this one of these workflows just to see this step here. So in this case, I can see, hey, we already have the 42Crunch set up within this workflow. So we're running, in this case, that 42Crunch audit step in this case, which is here. And we've already run this action before, so you can see here, hey, this action was run last time we pushed to the main branch, and I can go in here and see specifically that, hey, that 42Crunch static API security testing scan was run in this case. And you can see here, hey, these results were uploaded to GitHub code scanning. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these results here. So in this case, I'll navigate to the code scanning tab within GitHub. And here I can see a full list of all of the API vulnerabilities that came back from this 42Crunch audit scan that was run. So let's go ahead and select into one of these. So here, for example, we have string schema and response has no pattern defined. So the idea here is, hey, as a developer, I can go in and see specifically what was a vulnerability that 42Crunch came back with. Why is this important for me to fix, as well as what are the steps I need to do to go and remediate this issue as well. So there's a very detailed list of steps here to go and kind of take action on that. And the idea here is for their audit scan, they will go and check for any open API specs that you have within your source code repository and scan those for any security, data validation, or open API best practice checks. So that's a scan that we just ran here. And they also have another type of scan as well, which is their dynamic testing piece. And this is set up in the exact same way. You go to a workflow and add in this step. But the goal here is now they'll dynamically test your API implementation to see how well it actually conforms to that API spec as well. So here, for example, we have another finding, hey, the request is generated with the verb delete that is not defined in the open API definition. So they actually sent mock traffic to your API in this case, and they tried it with the verb delete that came back with a successful 200, but it wasn't defined in your open API spec. So hey, this could be a shadow API that exists within your organization now, for example. So that's really a summary of the new 42Crunch test that can be run within the DevOps pipelines. And these results, as I mentioned, are also now available within Defender for Cloud as well. So let's navigate back to Defender for Cloud here. And I'll navigate here to the recommendations blade, and I'll search here for API security testing. And in this case, I can go and select this recommendation here. GitHub repository should have API security testing findings resolved. And now I can see those same exact results that were available within GitHub Advanced Security here within the Defender for Cloud portal as well. So this is now to enable that visibility for those security teams that will be using Defender for Cloud. So I can see that same type of result come back here, and I can see, hey, this was found from that 42Crunch REST API static security testing tool. So that's really the visibility that you can get within Defender for Cloud. And then the last piece I'll touch on here is these results are also available within the Cloud Security Explorer as well. So let's say, for example, hey, I'm super interested in only finding code repositories that have that API security testing recommendation. So let's go here and sort this by recommendations again. And I'll filter specifically by that API security testing recommendation here. And we'll make sure that recommendation only shows up when it's unhealthy in this case. So let's go and set the status to unhealthy. And let's say, hey, I only want to see code repositories that are also only exposed to the internet, for example. So, hey, these allow public access. So these are public repositories, not private repositories, which essentially increases the risk of somebody finding out that, hey, this repository does have API security testing findings. So let's go ahead and search here. And now this comes back with that same repository in this case, and it says, hey, this API security testing repository has that recommendation as unhealthy, and it also allows public access as well. So this just kind of showcases how this all ties in back together with that Cloud Security Explorer to help customers enable broader cloud application security rather than just kind of isolated security across your repos and different resources as well.
This is great. Just to clarify, Harris, this 42 Crunch partnership is a different pricing, right? Customers will have to have the license for that, correct?
That is correct, yeah. So the way that this works is 42 Crunch will offer basically a freemium tier, so you can go and have kind of a free trial based off usage. So it's limited by a number of API scans that you would like. And then if you would want the premium tier, then it's a separate licensing that can be purchased through Azure Marketplace with 42 Crunch.
Awesome. Well, congratulations for this great release. Congratulations for the amazing capabilities that you and your team brought to Jay. We work really close with y'all, and it was amazing to see this evolving to what we have right now. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Yuri.
All right, everyone. This is a wrap for today's episode. Thanks again for your audience. Make sure to subscribe to our playlist. And stay tuned because we have a lot more to come with follow-up episodes about Ignite announcements.